But what I'm worried is that, okay, 2 charges are okay.
Dobar dan I dobrodošli. Hello and welcome. My name is Mirena Bagur. I'm welcoming you on behalf of a larger team of people that have been collaborating on putting this event together. Before I start, let me mention that we have a large number of people who have registered. We are still on a web meeting as opposed to a webinar. So at some point, all of you will be able to ask us questions. However, while we're going through the program, please mute your mics and we will let you put questions in the chat room. And then after that, we will be opening up at the end for some questions. As I mentioned, we have a number of organizations, both public and private, that have participated in this. The first person that I would like to introduce to you is our ambassador. Let me show, just one second, show Pierre's slide with Pierre here. So, Mr. Ambassador, I wanted to ask you to welcome everyone today. We have, as I mentioned, almost 200 people that registered, which is really exciting, and we hope that you can tell them all a little bit about Croatia.
Thank you very much, Mirena. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, thank you for being us. Mirena, congratulations again for putting together another beautiful event dedicated to Croatia, to Croatia's hospitality industry and gastronomy, which is great. And I think you are making these gloomy days far less gloomy. And hopefully we all at this stage in Croatia, in the US, and all over the world are seeing the end of this nightmare of pandemic. And that brings me to a beautiful memory involving Dubrovnik and the US. And that was before the summer season of 2019. When we were working closely with Mayor Frankovic's team and the great team from the Ministry of Tourism at the time, and with the American Airlines, with the city of Philadelphia, when the American Airlines inaugurated the first non-stop flight Philly Dubrovnik during summer. And I can tell you the American Airlines executives were absolutely, and they, you know, these people are not easily, you know, enthusiastic visibly, but they are really enthusiastic. They are really happy in terms of the booking, and the flight Philly Dubrovnik that summer season was an extreme success. And unfortunately, what followed, what we all know, what followed. So they had to cancel that. A lot of things have been canceled. And despite the fact that Croatia did remarkably well, despite the circumstances during the last year's summer season, up to something like 60–70% of the usual volume, which is absolutely a stunning success given circumstances. And for this summer season, Croatia and the Ministry of Tourism in particular is putting together you know, on a priority footing, a great plan of making Croatia safe for tourism, putting an emphasis on vaccinating those involved in tourism, of putting together a meaningful system of attracting tourists, of making them feel safe in Croatia, in all the tourist reasons, and in particular in the islands. And the islands are truly, as you know, Croatia's one of Croatia's major assets. We have more than 1,000 islands, and the islands are strong in tourism. And islands, being islands, offer a unique ability of controlling things. So that may be that. And in nautical tourism was doing great. It was doing fantastic last year. I had some direct experience in that, talking to friends, and they were a little like, wow. And the nautical tourism, they are expecting this year to go over the top as well. Croatia is putting a lot of efforts in vaccinating, in keeping the meaningful protective measures in place. So we really hope that sometime before the season and during the season, the pandemic will be very much under control, and that the tourists will be able to feel safe and enjoy their hard-earned vacation in peace and safety. And I'm really a proponent of theory that once we put this thing under control, and this is happening, and this will be happening, we will be having something like roaring 20s, when people would like to go back to their lives, would like to socialize, hug each other. There will be no kind of cautious coming out. I think this will be a big bang, and of course, not to jeopardize what will be achieved in terms of the suppressing the pandemic. And this is a great chance for Croatia, for for a country relying very much and on hospitality industry and able and willing to offer so much to the tourists. So what you are doing, Mirena, is truly admirable. My sincere congratulations, and we are relying on you in really sending this beautiful message across the U.S. in terms of the quality of Croatian wines. The quality of Croatian, how would I call that, joie de vivre, the love of life, the end of searching for the good things in life, socializing, eating well, drinking well, being with friends, being with family, hugging each other, and simply enjoying life. This is I think the Croatia's forte for this summer season. Of course, that we rely very much on tourism and on this particular season, and we'll be sparing no effort. No effort will be spared indeed to not only attract as many tourists as possible, but to make absolutely sure that they enjoy Croatia in a safe. In the safest possible environment. So, Mirena, thank you very much again for this opportunity, for this another webinar dedicated to Croatian wine, and I wish wholeheartedly to thank you all for your interest to listen to what we will be hearing about the Croatian wine, and in my particular gratitude to the great city of Dubrovnik, to Mr. Mayor himself, his great team, and the great department for Dubrovnik Department of Tourism. Dubrovnik is truly a jewel in the crown of Croatian tourism. Together with Split, I have to say I'm from Split.
Of course.
All the best. It's a great pleasure.
Thank you very much, Pierre. And this actually gives me the opportunity to mention the whole team that has been involved in putting this together. I would like to turn it over to Ms. Anna Hrnić, who is the director of the Dubrovnik Tourism Board. And Anna, thank you so much for joining us. I can see that both you and Ksenia, I will introduce Ksenia in a little bit, are sitting in one of my favorite places in Dubrovnik. I never go there without having a coffee or a dinner at Gradska Kavana. So thank you for joining us. And can you tell us a little bit about what you're planning for everybody in Dubrovnik?
Good evening, everybody. It's my pleasure to join you tonight on this beautiful event. I'm sending you all my regards from Dubrovnik, from this beautiful place, as you mentioned. So I hope you will enjoy this evening's event, and that we will inspire you to come and to visit Dubrovnik. Dubrovnik has so much to offer. We would need hours and hours of presenting everything, but I will be sure this evening to leave you with Ksenia and with wines. So Dubrovnik offers really impressive historical and cultural heritage, amazing wines and gastronomy, friendly, kind, nice people, beautiful nature, and so much more. In these challenging times, it is important to mention that we are taking a special care for health and safety of all of our tourists and, of course, all of our citizens. You are all familiar probably already with the Safe Stay in Croatia project, and I invite you all to explore the website and to find all the relevant information there. It is very important to find this Safe Stay in Croatia label everywhere you go, because this ensures you that all health and safety procedures and all epidemiological measures that are recommended are in place at the location. So we want to send you a message that we are responsible, that we are open for tourists, and that we are really welcoming you here in Dubrovnik. So stay safe, welcome to Dubrovnik, and cheers, of course.
Thank you very much, Anna. I also shared in the background the website, which is also behind me in the backdrop, which is the website that has information for anybody that's interested in going to Croatia about any traveling tips. What I wanted to do now is to introduce two people who are going to be working with us on a wine tasting today and telling us their stories about wine. So first, let me introduce you to Ksenia Matic, who is originally from Dubrovnik, and I will very quickly put here her background. Oh, I always mess this up. I'm sorry. I need to stop sharing for a second. Ksenia is a sommelier. Let me just do it I'll just talk about this right now. Ksenia is a sommelier. She is also a graduate of the Rochester Institute of Technology in Dubrovnik. How lucky can people be to go study there? She teaches a course about world of wines of the world rather, at RIT in Dubrovnik, and she will be our guest today, where she will be tasting the wines together from the Dubrovnik County. So welcome, Ksenia. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Mirena. It's always a pleasure to join the tastings with Croatian premium wine imports.
Thank you. And then our next guest is Greg Lambrecht from Koravin, who I think what we need to do is actually, I'm now going to try to do this correctly and post this. Pose this correctly, but Greg has been in Croatia, visiting Croatia for various reasons for a while. I will ask him the question of how that started, and I will post the screen with his background so you can hear a little bit about him and how is he related to today. So yes, welcome, Greg. Thank you.
Good day and good evening. Dobar dan, dobar večer. It's great to see all of you. I first went to Croatia when I met a surgeon. I work in medicine. I've invented various medical therapies, and I was developing a new technology for spine surgery. And it turns out Croatia has some of the world's best neurosurgeons. And so I met a neurosurgeon in Austria, and I went down to his hospital, Dubrovacka Hospital in Zagreb, as the first trip. Absolutely amazing surgeon. And so I wound up doing a clinical trial in Dubrovacka at his hospital and also at the University of Rijeka. Both with neurosurgeons. And so over the course of 6 or 7 years, I was coming to Croatia on a regular basis. And of course, I fell in love with the people. I fell in love with the cities, the coastline, the food, and then wine. So I am a wine fanatic, and Croatia is a perfect place for a wine fanatic. As you know, it's got that enormously long coast and all of the islands, and it's got Istria. And so it has the hills, it's got all the varied geography that you would want to grow fantastic wine. I was lucky enough to go to Dubrovnik for the Croatian Neurosurgical Society the first time. And then my other connection to the city, which I absolutely love and have been to numerous times, was I raised money for my company, Koravin, in Dubrovnik. I raised the largest round of financing from a very wealthy Monacan, and I said, "Where should I meet you, sir?" And he said, "Well, in the best city in the world." And I said, "Which one is that?" And he said, "Oh, Dubrovnik, of course." I think he picked me up in the water right behind you, Ksenia. So I have a very close fondness that I've developed for Croatia and Croatian wines, and the people and tourism since 2001. Now 20 years ago. The last time I was there was 2019, and I can't wait to go back. As soon as my second vaccination is done, I want to find my way to an airplane and get back to Croatia.
And they are starting, by the way, to enter the lines again. So that's really the good news. So thank you, Greg. We will obviously get back to you a little bit later. I did want to share with everybody who is maybe not familiar with with Croatia, who's joining us today, the map of the Croatian wine regions and varieties, starting counterclockwise on the top from Slavonia and Danube to the Croatian uplands, which is where the center of the capital Zagreb is, to then Istria and Kvarner, which is coastal, and some say relatively similar to Tuscany, and then Dalmatia in blue at the very bottom. The Dubrovnik city itself is where the arrow points. The reason for this map is so that you can see that there are 4 very distinctly different wine regions which produce very different wine varieties. And with this, I will, if anybody wants to receive this map, please send me an email. But I will let Ksenia talk about the varieties that we will taste today. They're all from the actually county, the Dubrovnik-Neretva county. That was our topic for today. And hopefully in the future, we will be doing additional seminars about wines from other areas. So I'm gonna stop sharing this right now and turn this over to Ksenia. So Ksenia, do you want to start with the first wine? I'm dying to get a sip of something.
Of course, feel free to have your glasses ready. And good evening once again from this fabulous terrace of the Gradska Kavana Arsenal restaurant. I really have the perfect backdrop. I don't know if any of you visited Dubrovnik already, but I think this is a good enticing image for you behind me. So I would like to start just with a few general information about Croatian wines. We are indeed a small wine producing country with around 46,000 acres, which is roughly the size of the Napa Valley. So you can see how small we really are, but we have around 130 indigenous varieties, which is our great wealth on this small area. So tonight we are tasting the wines from Dubrovnik-Neretva county, so the vineyards surrounding the regions near city of Dubrovnik. And we will start with our first wine, which is Malvacia Dubrovacka. We consider this indigenous variety because it's been around for more than 600 years, as far as we know, but it was proven that this is the same type of wine as the few varieties in Italy and in Spain, and that it belongs to the Mediterranean pool of Malvacias, but they all originate from Greece. The reason why we know that this variety is here for 600 years is that we have a document in our archives from 1383 mentioning the name of this variety when a Bosnian king tried to get permission from the rector of Dubrovnik Republic to buy 1 barrel of Malvacia. So 1383, I repeat, is around 100 years before America was even discovered. So this is what we're really proud of. And of course, Malvacia was very important to the rector, who was the ruler of the Republic, and he actually used Malvacia Dubrovacka to welcome and greet all of his most important guests to Dubrovnik. So you can see how we are really strongly connected to this variety.
Oh, and looks like you have a guest.
Oh, I have a guest tonight with me. It's the mayor of Dubrovnik, Mr. Mato Frankovic.
Good evening. What actually are you doing here?
Well, I'm just explaining to our American friends and wine lovers about Dubrovacka Malvacia and how actually rector used to greet his guests with this wine.
Yeah, I'm not the rector, but the things changed during the years. I wish you all the best. I see Pierre. Hello, Pierre. I hope that you're good, doing good, and good work in America, United States. what are we going to do now?
Let's
Taste,
greet the guests with a glass of Malvacia.
Actually, what I was doing throughout this mandate of 4 years, many of the guests, of course, I welcome here in Dubrovnik, and all of them I welcome with Malvacia. So I cheers to all of you with the best Dubrovnik wine. Cheers.
Thank you. We love Dubrovačka Malvacia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wouldn't like to keep you for a long time. I know you're quite busy. So thank you once again. If
Thank you,
would-
and I hope that our American friends will come shortly to Dubrovnik. Now, when we are past COVID, I would say, scenario, we are waiting for you. So don't drink too much and fly it as soon as possible back to Dubrovnik. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and we will definitely also visit Pelješac, where we know you from, so.
Yeah, so our Malvacia is ready in the glass. We will look at the wine. We will smell it. We will taste it and just see what's going on. I know Greg is probably already familiar. You can help me with the tasting if you'd like to join.
Well, you start off. It's a spectacular wine. I mean, it's a lovely, lovely wine. I've not had Malvasia from your region before. I've had it from Istria.
And that's actually a very good point to mention that they are two different varieties.
Yes,
Yeah.
they are two different varieties, and our Malvasia is, as you can already feel on the nose, quite aromatic. So it's a beautiful wine full of yellow flowers, ripe stone fruit. I would say it's like reminds me of this small, very fragrant vineyard peach. Then I have some quinces and almonds. It's really rich and a very pronounced intensity of aromas. And of course, a beautiful golden color. So let's taste it.
Oof, it's delicious. It's
Yeah, you can go on with the palate.
yeah.
please.
It's the acidity is low. It's a beautiful floral in the mouth. Right, there's a little bit of a woodiness to it as well, but there's still sort of a balanced fruit. It's not overly fruity or simplistic. It has some great richness. It has that floral thing that's really noticeable, like white flowers on the middle of the palate. This would go really well with olive oil and fish.
Yeah, this is very good with fish, of course, and all the seafood. Usually, well, Malvasia can have maybe sometimes even higher alcohol, but this one is very ripe, rounded, and well balanced, as you said. It has medium body. Even the acidity is not quite low, maybe medium minus, but it keeps the palate lively. It's not maybe
it's not
to say dull wine. So and we pair it, of course, with a lot of things. In good vintages such as this one, when it's not overripe and maybe alcohol is not so pronounced, we even pair it with oysters.
Yeah.
So what I have here in front of me that you will see, I have a plate of Milestone Oysters, and maybe you didn't know that in Dubrovnik we have really one of the best and tastiest oysters in the world. Now it just sounds like I'm bragging all the time about all the good stuff, but this is really something not to be missed. It's maybe 30 miles drive away, Milestone Bay, which is also specially protected marine, like a marine resort, and it's where the shellfish farming is going on for really hundreds of years. Milestone Oyster received protected protected designation of origin label just a couple of months ago from the European Union, so it is protected in all of the Europe, recognizing this really high quality and flavor. So just if you are a fan of oysters, just jump right on the next plane, because now the oysters are really in their prime, and they are so full and juicy and briny that I'm drooling just looking at them.
You're making me hungry.
No kidding.
Yeah.
We were actually planning to go there for the Oyster Festival in Milestone, end of March. That happens every year, and of course this year has been postponed. But hopefully we can make it there next year. And tell us a little bit, what does the word tesoro mean? Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Yes, tesoro, the name of this Malvacia Dubrovacka, means treasure. It's from one of the plays of certain playwriters here from Dubrovnik, Marin Držić, and it actually describes a small, like a cup where one very, how do you say, very cheap guy wanted to hide all his belongings and treasure, so he kept saying "Moje tesoro," my treasure, like a Gollum with the ring, my precious, so yeah.
I actually love that about Croatian winemaking industry. The new generation has learned not only to make the great wines, but they're being very good about selecting things from the culture to connect both culture and the great product, obviously. I'm wondering, Greg, if this might be a good time for you to tell us, can we go to the next wine?
Yeah.
Sure. The first one's even getting better in the glass. It smells better and better, and the aromas keep coming and coming. And the oyster story has made me just unstoppably hungry. But I wanted to give a little bit of my connection to this whole wine industry as a spine guy. I invented the technology that comes in really useful for an evening like tonight when you're going to taste across 5 different wines. And we're lucky enough to be used in Croatia and some fine restaurants and at home as well. But it's a technology called Korabin, and it allows you to pour wine from a bottle and then drink as much as you like, and then put the rest of the wine back and drink it again in a month or even 6 months or even a year or more. So originally I came up with this guy, which is Korabin Timeless. And you can see the medical background very quickly. It actually does use a spinal needle. I try not to tell people that. But it has a needle that goes through the cork of the closure. It's got some gas, argon gas, which is one of the noble gases that pushes the wine out of the bottle into your glass. And then because cork is elastic, once I take the needle out, it reseals. So I'll pour a little bit of our next glass, which is the Posip, I believe. So I just press this trigger, and every time I press, gas goes in. I let go, and that gas pushes the wine out of the bottle into my glass. I can pour as much or as little as I like, and then tip up. The extra gas comes out, pull the needle out, and again, cork is elastic. It reseals. So you can put that back and drink it again whenever. We are here today because we are launching a new system that works from an open bottle. Say, for example, I plan on drinking this within the next month, which I do, then I actually just remove the cork and I put in our little Korabin stopper. It's a pivot stopper, and the system is called Pivot. And it works in almost the same way, except it goes through a little valve. You place it through this little system through the valve at the top. I tip it sideways. I get to pour myself more of the first wine. I press this little button, and that pushes the wine out of the bottle into my glass. Tip up and stop, remove it, and then I can cap, like so, leave it back in the cellar. The wine will last for about a month and maybe longer. So those are the 2 technologies that I wound up developing because of my love for wine. In part, I developed these ideas in Croatia, particularly of the Timeless, because my wife was pregnant at the time and she had stopped drinking, and I would bring all these wonderful wines home from surgeons that had given it to me. Particularly from Peješec. It's a really wonderful place that I love a great deal. So I wanted to find a way that I could drink from 2, 3, 4 different wines in an evening and not have to put any of the rest of the wine at risk of throwing it away. So that's the idea behind Coravin, and it's come in useful during the pandemic for these types of tastings.
Absolutely, and I should add that when we started our company, bringing Croatian wines to United States, and we are doing shipments to most of the United States, as most of you know, we first wanted to bring a few bottles here to have a few professionals taste them. And we brought a few bottles in our suitcases, and the first investment into our company was the Coravin Timeless Model 11. Of course,
Thank you very much.
my husband, being from MIT, had to buy the one that actually has all the connections, you know.
Also from MIT. So,
yeah. so that is actually what enabled us to start our business, because without it, we just could not have run a few bottles of wine, but by as many professionals as we wanted to. They simply would not have lasted. So thank you for enabling us to do that. And I know that from a lot of sommeliers that we hear studying for their exams, I mean, Coravin's been huge, because otherwise they would have to be buying all the bottles. So this way they can share. Yeah.
We've been
Greg,
but anyway, this is actually a good time for me to reset and to mention for people who have not started from the beginning. We are here to talk about wines from the Dubrovnik region. We are also here to tell you that Croatia is safe to enter. Behind me, there is a website where you can find information about what you need, and what is Croatia. What you need is literally either a vaccine or a test, and there is no quarantine necessary, although I'd be happy quarantining there someplace like Dubrovnik for 2 weeks with all these wines anyway. We also are going to today, for people who have not yet signed up to our mailing list, you can subscribe to our website, CroatianPremiumWine.com, and we will be given 2 different prices. One is a $100 gift certificate, where you can go on our online store and get the wines that you would like. And then also, Coravin has been very kind and allowed us to pick 3 different winners of the Coravin Pivot that can be shipped to you directly. I do have to emphasize this is for United States only. So if you can do that, please go to our website and subscribe to a mailing list, and we will be announcing this tomorrow. So having said that, Ksenia, do you want to walk us through Poship and tell us a little bit also about where Poship is originally from?
Of course, but first I would also like to thank Greg for the Coravin, because I received Coravin as a gift some 3 years ago. I'm not sure what the model is. It's the black with the silver silver bottom.
Model 2.
Yeah, Model 2 probably, yeah. And since I hosted a lot of wine workshops, and even tonight, it was very difficult for me, because if we were tasting 6 to 8 wines, I always brought double, because what happened if I opened and the wine was corked, oxidized, or faulty in any other way? And Coravin enabled me to try the wines first at home, make sure they are in good condition, and just pack one package and just go and not carry so many things around. So thank you.
Lighter luggage, another good reason. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
So yeah, regarding Poship, Poship is really, it's the second wine we're tasting today. Poship, as opposed to Malvacia, which we consider indigenous here, Poship is 1000% indigenous, because it comes from the island of Korčula. Korčula is known as the home of Marco Polo, the world traveler. If you have heard, I'm sure you have. What happened there is a rather interesting story. In the middle of the 19th century, one of the local farmers was going through the forest, cutting woods, and he found this wine which seemed very interesting to him. It was like self-grown wine. The berries had a nice flavor, and the grapes looked very interesting to him. So he took a few cuttings and he planted it. So later they discovered that it is also good for making wine, and this is how Pošip was planted throughout Korčula, mostly in Smokvica and Čara fields. It was also later genetically proven that it was the spontaneous crossing from two varieties that are also present on the island, so we are then 1000% sure that it's completely indigenous to Korčula and to Croatia, of course. Pošip then as a very popular variety because it's a rather versatile grape. You can make sparkling wine from it. You can make still dry wines. You can age it in oak. You can make surly, so age it on the lees, and even sweet versions. So it became quite popular. It spread from North Dalmatia down the coast, on islands, hinterland, and of course on Komarna, which we are focusing tonight with this Pošip Rizman. I think my throat is getting very dry. I have to drink something, so have your Pošip ready. Again, a nice straw yellow to bright gold color. The aromas on this Pošip are like ripe citrus fruits, some Mediterranean herbs, maybe yellow apple, and just all the things that really remind me of the seaside on the island. So we can taste it.
If you insist, I'm noticing though that you're the only one that's actually using the spittoon. We're all drinking, but that's okay.
I have too many lights and cameras on me. I cannot allow myself to be oozy on the last wine or so. When the lights go off, then I'll have my glasses.
Okay.
Just kidding. A beautiful acidity. A very nice structure. What I love about Pošip, especially Pošip from Komarna, is the minerality, is this saltiness that remains on your lips. And actually, Pošip is my go-to wine with oysters. Malvacia can be tricky. It can be a good match sometimes, but Pošip you cannot miss with Pošip. So, Greg, what do you think about this one?
You took all the words from my mouth. That was exactly what I was going to say. The salinity of this wine is fantastic, and it was what was striking at the finish is that all this wonderful salinity. It made me think of the islands. It made me think of the incredible water that you have right next to you and how absolutely transparent it is in that region of the world. And it made me think of the oysters again. Maybe that's because you made me hungry, but. You know, I could even drink this with some prosciutto. I think the acidity would cut straight through the fat.
The fat, yeah.
Of that. This is a fantastic wine. It's really, really lovely. And I agree. It's also got that sort of citrusy nature to it. And I fell in love with it. This was the first white wine I had in Croatia. Was a Pošip, and I loved it from the beginning. I wanted to ask you a question about the history of Croatian wine, because you're in between Italy and further down Greece. Do we know where the first wine came from, or did it start there indigenously just in Croatia?
Well, we do know that from 6th century before Christ, we have some artifacts found on the island of Vis and Hvar with coins imprinted with grapes and some even dishes. Which tells us there's a wine culture here from 6th century before Christ. But as you probably assumed, it came from Greece. So the Greeks brought the wine culture to us.
It's fantastic. And you have prettier islands than the Greeks. I have to say that.
There is one wine that is actually called Grk, which is literally means a person from Greece. And that's also on the island of Korčula, and a white wine. An interesting thing about, I think that the berries of all of these wines that are growing either on the islands or right on the coast have a very thick skin, so the wines are very structured. We have had a lot of people who in United States were buying it for Thanksgiving dinner, because it actually can pair up really well with a white poultry. I wouldn't go with anything that's too spicy necessarily, but it does go really well with that, and any poship. And I think that Rizman actually adds a little bit of Chardonnay, I believe, under 15% to their version, which also adds a slightly different touch than the wine from Korčula itself. And I think, everybody has their own favorite poship from, this village or that village, but in the end, what really matters is that the wines are produced in the right way. I should mention that all of these wines that we are tasting today are produced in an organic way. And on the islands and on the coastal Croatia, that's actually relatively easily possible because the vineyards are separated from each other unless they're in an appellation. And appellations can decide to be organic, and then they can actually make that happen. Whereas in other areas, because vineyards are not in an appellation, and there can be one small producer that uses herbicides, and then it impacts the producer that actually is trying to do everything organic, but they're so close that it actually mixes and matches. So I have to answer this question. Somebody has asked the question on the chat, and by the way, for all of you that want to ask questions, please do keep asking them in the chat for now, and we will open up later on for open. But we put together a bundle that did not include poship originally, and we were told that we cannot possibly show off the wines from the South Dalmatia without showcasing poship, which I actually agree with them. So we've added one wine because we wanted you to know about the wine. Obviously, there are several wines that we have that are poship on our website, and if you would like to get them later on, you can go back to this video, which we will be posting live. So sorry for creating a confusion, but there was actually a really good point. Bad decision on my original planning. So with that, should we move to rosé maybe?
Absolutely. I'm ready.
You are? Okay.
Yep. With pivot, it's really easy.
Thank you.
I love it too. It actually pours much faster.
Yeah.
It does, yeah. And it uses less argon gas. You can get more glasses per capsule. Yeah.
I mean, I think that I should mention this because we did mention to people that we will be, I guess, raffling off 3 Coraman pivots. The price in United States is $99.
Yep.
And we actually have it on our website as well. For people that have ordered the bundle today, they actually received the pivot as well already. But for those of you that have not, if you want to just buy one, all you need to do is go on our store page and type in Coravin, and then anything that relates to Coravin will pop up, including just the pivot itself, at a slight discount for our customers. So. And
I'm cheating today. I'm using our new aerator. So aeration is surface area times time from the MIT guy, and so we can increase the surface area. And I don't know, Samuel, if you've seen this yet, but it breaks the stream up into, it's hard to see in my background, into many streams.
Oh, like a mini shower.
Like a shower. And what's better than a rosé shower? I really can't think of anything. So that's a new thing that's coming out now with the pivot system. We always had it with the needle-based system as well. But
Yeah.
one of the nice things about the aerator is I can smell this wine so well. Like the aromatics are everywhere.
Yeah. So
Wow.
when we generally talk about rosés here in the south, as Mirena mentioned, our grapes have to be quite sturdy and with thick skins. Conditions are that we have a lot of sun and they have to cope with it. So even when we produce rosés, they are a bit more structured than your typical Provençal style very light rosé. So we have today rosé from Plavac Mali grapes, and it's 2019, which is not uncommon here. These rosés actually keep very well and might even be better the second year after the harvest, or they even decide to bottle it a little bit later. So I think the one we have now is very in actually optimum condition. So it has a nice bright pink, even salmon-like color. The nose is really nice. I get some roses, ripe strawberries, even some cherries. Just what you would expect really from a nice fruity rosé. And then as we drink it, the acidity again is very nice. This is a dry rosé, but again you feel a bit of warmth also. It's a very good balance, but you see it's a bit more structure than these rosés that you drink like water, you know. For example, this wine, it would really pair well with even prosciutto or even some fattier pork, you know, with both the acidity and the structure, you can pair it really well.
Yeah, the strawberry on the nose is really beautiful. The salmon color is the perfect description. It's almost like a copper color to it, which is gorgeous. And then the ageability piece, you could feel it as soon as you tasted it. And I didn't realize the skins were so thick. It reminds me of one Provençal producer, Domaine Tempier, who also makes rosés that can last for a very long time and are very expensive to get a hold of. And this has the similar character of that structure that you don't normally expect from a rosé, but this has it. And I can imagine. I'm wondering what this is like in 5 years or in 7 years. It's a lovely wine.
Yeah, because we get the certain misperception about the rosés that they have to be drank in 1 year, and then you have a south of France as well with small appellations such as Bandol producing rosés which are really, really structured and meant to age. So it's a whole world actually to discover and to learn more.
And then another misconception is that rosé needs to be drunk only in the summertime. I actually think whether you are in a hot weather outside on a beach or whether you're next to the fireplace, it's kind of the same thing. You're drinking wine cold, and it really depends on what does a person prefer.
Yeah, it's also this is from Plavac Mali, the grape variety. And if you know the wines of Dalmatia, the Plavac Mali from Dalmatia is really one of those world-class wines. It's if you're a wine collector, it's important to have it because it's just such a unique, beautiful, almost rich, current, gorgeous wine. Tends to be high in alcohol. I noticed this is only 12% alcohol. So it's quite low, which means you can drink a little bit more of it without the requisite hangover. And actually, all of these wines have been really reasonable. They've all been in the 12 to 13% range.
Yeah. Wait until we get to reds.
Yeah, exactly. Until we get the reds from Dalmatia, because there's a lot of sunshine where you are. I mean, that is one of the key features of the beautiful Dalmatian coastline is the incredible sun and sea and the food that comes with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the modern winemaking enabled us to start actually producing wine in the vineyard already. So vineyard management is extremely important for the end result. So not just only, we didn't have rosés like this maybe 10, 15 years ago. We had very dark colored rosés that almost resembled young red wine. And they were made just as a byproduct of red wine making, and they were not very popular. But that was the traditional style. So today, with these modern styles, we really make good rosés even from Plavac Mali, which is actually quite difficult to manage as a rosé.
I bet. But it's delicious, and it has all those things that I love about great rosés. Plus that structure. Wow, that's going to age really well. I'm almost now sad that I pulled the cork and used the pivot. I wish I'd used the timeless version and left it alone for another couple of years.
Yeah, really beautiful
Luciana
aromas
is
and the
asking
structure.
About, mentioned that the texture in the mountain, does it come from the grape profile tannins or winemaking style and maceration? It's obviously a complicated answer because it depends on what the winemaker wants to do. In this case, maceration is practically non-existent. But Plavac Mali literally means a little blue, referring to the grapes. The berries are very small and they're so dark that they're practically called blue. Maceration can be up to maybe an hour and achieve this color, but it really depends on the winemaker. Some choose to do it that way, some choose to just have it on lees. So one of the interesting things for me about Plavac Mali rosés is that when I first tasted it, I was surprised about how dry they are. I don't tend to like sweet wines. It's just a personal choice. And having it be so dry is absolutely great. And then, you were talking about herbs that one feels when you taste it. To me, when you're looking, and actually I have a background picture behind me from the Comarne appellation. When you look at those vines that are planted facing down toward the sea so that they can get the insolation is what they call it from both three ways, from the sun direct, from the sun to the what's really limestone. There's no soil, it's limestone below, and the reflection to the berry, and then also from the sea, reflection from the sea to the berry. There's just so much sun that it creates creates berries that have a lot of sugar. So winemakers typically will pick do the harvest for their rosés earlier on when there's still a mix of some even green, but definitely pinkish berries in the clusters, including some red. And that also determines the color of the rosés as well. So unless you guys wanted to mention something else, did we talk about pairing for this?
Well, we
prosciutto was...
Yeah,
that sounded interesting to me.
Definitely prosciutto. I always found the rosés to go really well with some starchy foods like risottos, but with some light sauces like seafood risotto or seafood pasta. I think it would work very well.
So far we have tasted the first wine, Dubrovačka Malvasia from Konavle, which is the area right literally behind Dubrovnik. When you arrive there, by the way, at the airport, that's where it is. Then we've tasted two wines from the Komarne appellation, and we're now moving into the Dingač appellation, which was the first appellation that was actually recognized as an appellation in Croatia. This is a wine from Saints Hills Winery. And Ksenia, do you want to tell us about the appellation first?
Of course. Well, first, we didn't talk much about the grape itself, the Plavac Mali that we tasted the rosé from. So Plavac Mali is also indigenous grape, and what is maybe interesting to you, it has a close genetic relationship to Zinfandel. So Mike Gergich, who is a winemaker, actually an owner at the Gergich Hills Winery in Rutherford, he came from Croatia to the States, and when he saw Zinfandel grapes, he said, this is Plavac Mali. So this is where everything began. They started investigating, and somehow they found out that Zinfandel was one of the parents to Plavac Mali. But nowadays we have some new new research going on where we don't know if it's parent or maybe offspring, so we are still trying to work this out.
I've been using the story that it's the parent for the longest time, but I read that article that said that it wasn't genetically, and it made me sad because.
Yeah.
But I prefer it so much to Zinfandel.
Well, yeah, we'll see what happens with the story. So now we're tasting Dingač. Dingač is, as Mirena said, an appellation on the Pelješac Peninsula, and it was recognized and protected by Geneva Convention in 1964. It was the first Croatian wine to receive international protection. And Dingač is what I like to call our big red monster. Really, the slopes on these areas go maybe from 50 to 60 degrees incline, which is in some places of the world called heroic viticulture, because you cannot harvest with any machines or anything. Sometimes they even need rock climbing equipment to keep them from falling through these steep vineyards. So you can imagine how grapes, what Mirena said, receive really a lot of sun directly from the sea and from the stony ground, that they develop and build up a lot of sugar, which results in higher alcohol and, of course, the thick skin, which brings a lot of tannins. So try to taste this bomb and we can discuss it. It has a really beautiful ruby red color, so bright, so lively and nice. The nose is a mixture between some ripe fruit. It's not overly jammy. We have different Dingač styles. This one is more polished, I would say. It's not overly jammy and dry fruits. I would go with very ripe fruits like blackberries, plums, sour cherries. Then we have, of course, interlaced aromas from the oak, quite a lot of vanilla and some sweet spices. So very complex and very, very nice nose.
The nose is amazing. I mean, I would agree with the complex spices. Normally I expect currants and raisins on a really full-bodied Plavac Mali from Pelješac, but this one is much more nuanced, and there's a lot of spiciness to this. There's, maybe it's cinnamon, but there's maybe a little bit of rosemary. It's a really complicated nose that is just deeply fascinating.
For me, it's maybe also a touch of sage, and these also Mediterranean herbs which we have along the coast. So it's really a wine that depicts the terroir, I would say.
You could smell this all night.
Not just smell, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of herbs, Ksenia mentioned that they grow in the area. So if you think about it, the organic growing means that the plants that are weeds and are growing between the vine lines, right? They either pick them up or they actually dry out in the middle of the summer. But what are those weeds? It is the rosemary and sage and, you know, everything else that you would normally see growing in the wild area. So it makes perfect sense to be smelling those, because whether they were not big plants, obviously if they're between the vines, but they're growing in the general area and the roots are there. So definitely makes it in. The other thing is that for both Dingač, which is also a coastal appellation, and somebody asked me if I can show the map, and I will in a little bit when I'll show both Komarna and Dingač. In fact, there is a correlation. The Dingač appellation is so well known that when Komarna decided to plant their vines, they actually picked exactly the same latitude and the same south-southwest facing, just not on the peninsula, but on the continent. So I'll show that when we're done with all of this. I'll go into a Google map and I can actually show you that. It's pretty fascinating, particularly given the steep slopes for them. So, I think that for people who like plavac mali, who have tasted plavac mali before and like it very robust, there are versions of that, and we will be tasting that next. But St. Hills is also known for the fact that they work with Michel Rolland, who, as a French guy, I guess, is using the French taste and applying it to how they create plavac mali, and definitely doing it in a much more elegant and smooth way than your classic plavac mali. So this is a good one to get introduced to from even a perspective of transitioning from another red that you, from like a California Zinfandel to plavacs, which are clearly related, but the terroir makes all the difference. So,
yeah. So what do you think of the palate, Greg?
Yeah, I was saying I couldn't wait to hear what you were going to say. First of all, the tannic structure just leaps out. Like I aerated this wine, but still it's got almost Northern Italy Barolo style tannins in it, which are lovely and grip the side of the mouth and the front of the teeth. And it's sort of what you hope for and expect. The palate is rich and complex again. They say 14% alcohol in the back, and I don't believe them. I think it's higher, but it's not unbalanced. It's beautiful, and it matches with those spices, and I taste those spices. The other thing that is striking is when you have had a sip and you wait a little while, and I encourage you to do this, let the tannins calm down. The salinity, there's salt again on the palate in a really unique way that Italy doesn't deliver, that Piemonte is not. You'll get all the fruit with Piemonte. This is more of those herbs and those spices and the salt. It's I can imagine this with pork. I can imagine this with all sorts of different styles of meat that have been done well, or a really good stew. It's delicious. There are fruits there, and they're a little bit raisinated, which reminds me of that plavac mali and what I expect, but it's those herbs and that salt that really stayed with me. I love it.
Yeah, I agree, absolutely, because it is not uncommon actually to both Dingač and Postup, the other appellation, to have this seaweed minerality, which is the saltiness that you actually taste. Sometimes it's even pronounced on the nose, like when you are walking near the shore and when the seaweeds dry out on rocks when it's low waters. So it has this marine smell sometimes, and it's quite common to these appellations.
It's delicious. This wine's going to age, I would imagine,
Yes.
quite well. I've not had one that was more than 10 years old, but this Dingač plavac mali is the very first Croatian wine I ever had, and it was in Zagreb. It was from the region of, it was Pešec, it was from Dingač. So it was fantastic. in a restaurant in Zagreb, followed by a perfect coffee at the end of a great dinner. So I have an affection for this appellation that runs deep. It's hard for me to ever think one isn't wonderful.
Yeah,
as a result.
and so beautiful to visit. Actually,
I've never been there. I would like to go.
Yeah, you really have to, because all these things, looking at photos and images, whatever, videos and the wine, you have one image in your head, and then when you come there, you are literally, speechless. When you see these slopes and all the area, it's amazing.
Particularly if you get a ride on one of these roads. I mean, it's basically, it's not a road. It's a, it's a course for tracking.
Yeah, rally car.
Unbelievable! And then you're holding the Jesus handle the whole time if you're on the outer on the other side. It's truly amazing that anybody can work there. By the way, this particular dingaj got for this year got a 94 from Wine Enthusiasts. And I do agree with you, Greg, that this can age easily another several years and before its prime even. I mean, we absolutely either decanted or aerated now.
Yeah. I was just thinking of one moment that I had in Dubrovnik that I would encourage anyone who's planning to travel there. One of the most amazing times in Dubrovnik is the one that you are seeing right now, and that's late at night. Walking the city of Dubrovnik in the dark is such an extraordinarily pleasurable experience. The sun has gone down, the temperature has cooled off a little bit, and it's such a well-lit and beautiful stone-cut city. To see that, oh, there we go. Yeah. I don't think there are better stonemasons than the stonemasons who built Dubrovnik. It was the other rich city with Venice. And the first time I encountered Dubrovnik was when I was in Venice, and there was Dubrovkinput. There's the Dubrovnik port, where all of the ships from Dubrovnik would stop because they were such an important trading partner. And the wealth that Dubrovnik built was put into these incredible stone structures, not only the walls, but the churches, the buildings, everything, the ground. I mean, it's an unbelievably beautiful city made with such mastery. To see it at night is really a magical experience.
In addition to that, and this may be a good thing to do while people are sipping this fairly strong wine, which we may need a second or two more than for the others, is to actually show the video about stone, Mali stone, where there was a salt factory there that has been there for more than 2,000 years, and it still actually functions. I will show you the video in a second. I just need to share the screen, so give me a moment, please.
I'll pour myself a little bit more of the...
Oh, yes. So here we go. This is this is the artist Anna Rutzner, who is a famous cellist who has recorded this. And we unfortunately couldn't get to her today, but maybe another time. So at least you get to see the view of the area where the Milestone oysters come from, by the way. And you get to see the culture and masonry and music, both modern and old, as well as worldly and local. The music. So how was that for a little digression? Although not really, because we have been talking about both Milestone oysters. We've been talking about salinity. We've been talking about the grapes that are growing there. Obviously, actually, that area just got their PDO. Ponikve, right in the back of Stone, and I would highly recommend to everybody that is going to Dubrovnik to take a day trip and go there and actually go around the walls. It's about 2-hour walk. Just try to do it early in the morning before it's too hot. With that, I wanted to actually mention one of our friends from Croatia who is living in America, but it's there right now, says that was his cousin on the drums. And then I recognize Mr. Stevo Page, who owns the salt factory, who I have met many, many years ago. Originally, that's actually the first time I ever had oysters, and of course I hated them as a kid. But anyway, with that, I see that Ksenia has another visitor.
Yep.
Hello, good evening.
Who is that?
Well, my name is Siniša Lasan, and I'm sommelier, triple Croatian champion for sommeliers. And I'm glad that I'm with you tonight for this wonderful tasting. Big hello to everybody, especially to Greg. Thank you for new inventions, and special thanks to everybody who likes Croatian wines in United States. And I hope that after this tasting, you will like them even more than before.
It's great to see you again. You look well.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, he's been in Dalmatia. What do you expect? Of course he's going to look good, you know? He's drinking wine and enjoying the weather, which has been very nice from what I understand.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Okay.
Were you just on Pelješac recently?
Yes, I was on Pelješac. That's the reason why I'm a little bit late tonight with you, but I was there. Yeah, it's sunny, it's nice weather. Temperature is around 20 degrees of Celsius, which is actually fantastic. Okay, during nighttime it's a little bit, around 12, 13, but when you have, wines like this, it's actually very warm,
Yeah. Plus, you're talking Celsiuses. Let me just remind everybody that's not in Fahrenheit. So thank you for joining us. So do you two want to taste the last wine that we have for tonight?
Of course, if I may, I would like to. Yeah.
That would be
myself?
great.
Okay. So we are actually having Plavac Mali from Komarna sub-region. What we didn't mention about Komarna is actually that this is youngest vineyard area in Croatia, and it's 100% ecological. Family is Valarević, and we will taste their Plavac Mali. These vineyards are around 15 years old, and this is more than enough information for the beginning. Okay, wine is of course clear. There is no evidence of gas or sediment. There is deep ruby red color with slightly bit purple rims. On the nose, what we expect, and actually what we always get from Plavac Mali, quite powerful nose, very rich, very pronounced. I mean, I always like to say when you smell Plavac Mali, whatever you say, you cannot miss, except green apple. You won't find it. But very ripe red fruits, a lot of sweet spices, vanilla. I get hints of cocoa, coffee. But it's still quite young, I would say, nose, and it's very powerful. I hope that those people who are having the wines agree with me. But it's very, very, very rich, really very, very rich nose. On the palate, wine is of course dry. Acidity is medium, alcohol level is, I would say, medium plus, with tannin level same, medium plus. But what is very, very good with this wine, actually, that this fruitiness on the palate is quite clear. Tannins are silky. There is quite a lot of them, but they're very, very, very well integrated in the wine. Of course, there are some hints of oak barrels vanilla, as well sweet spices. It's quite intense. It's actually very well balanced. I would say that this is high quality red wine. And actually, with Plavac Mali, what we get with this youngest appellation in Croatia, actually, they are producing excellent style of wine, and totally different maybe from Dingač or even Postup, or if we go to Hvar, to Ivan Dolac or Brač. So it's totally different, but I would say that this is modern style of Plavac Mali, and I think in the future this wine can age extremely well. I recommend you, of course, to buy at least 100 cases of this wine and store it in your cellar, you know, just to have it for your, I don't know, so special occasions. If not, 12 bottles is enough. And I think that you can enjoy in special occasions. Of course, decanting of this wine or serving of this wine is a very important thing. Right temperature is always very important. You know, from 16 to 18 degrees of Celsius in Fahrenheit, I don't know what it is, but
56 to 62, I would say.
Yeah. But this is regular red wine serving temperature. With these, usually we serve, of course, red meat, but some of the, let's say, stews made here in Croatia, like pašticada, which we are serving with gnocchi on the side. This would be fantastic, actually the best pairing with that. Even you can go with some bluefish grilled. I think it goes very well, particularly if the sauce is very good connected with, let's say, this wine. You think that I talk too much? No?
No.
No. Okay, I'm joking. I think that's it for this wine. Yeah, sorry. Yes.
No, it's perfect. There could not be a better comparison in styles and terroir than these last two Plavac Malis. I mean, the Dingač and this wine are so very different. And I said about the last wine that I thought they were lying about the alcohol percentage. These guys are saying they're 15.5%. Voladovic, and maybe they're lying because it's high, and it's delicious.
I think they can put 0.5 less, right, on the label, so you at least expect it's more for 0.5.
Oh no, I believe they're telling the truth within the rules, within the laws, and if Pierre was still here, I would want to make sure that he knew that I wasn't accusing them of anything. I think they're right. It's the Germans that I doubt. I was once at a wine dinner with Germans, and they said, "Do you think we reprint the back label every year?"
These wines from the south, particularly from this grape variety, this is, I mean, for us is quite normal because we are big and strong here, so we can get, I mean, we drink, you know, strong wines, 14.5, 15.5% of alcohol for reds. This is, I would say, quite normal thing here. For the whites is slightly bit less, you know, around 13.5, 14. This is how the wines are produced here. You know, this is the reason because of the climate, because there is a lot of sun, you know, there is influence of the sea and the stone and the climate. So there's the reason why the wines have slightly bit higher alcohol. But you know what? The most important thing is actually the palate, you know, palate, what you feel in a palate. If you have only alcohol, this is not good. But in this wine, actually you see very well integrated, you know, acidity, alcohol level, as well as the tannins and fruitiness. So you will never guess that this wine is so strong, you know.
No, it's beautiful, and there's no better comparison than these two wines. The beautiful fruit of the Voladovic, and the sort of richness. I absolutely agree. The stews, the gnocchi, this makes like absolutely perfect sense. And then sort of the much more subtle. You said silky tannins as well, and I have to admit that is completely true. This is like the definition of silky tannins in the Voladovic. Whereas they're a little bit more confrontational in the Dingač that we just had, and which almost makes me think like that wine needs to age a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And with the Dingač, I can imagine, you know, choosing something that had rosemary or sage in the food would bring out everything that was wonderful about that wine. Yeah. So two the same grape, two different regions and two different winemaking styles, and it's remarkable.
And actually,
the different style of wine today.
they are very close, you know, when you consider, you know, they're very close, but totally different.
Yeah, and actually what's really interesting, I think, with the St. Hills Winery, they both have a vineyard at Dingač as well as at Komarna, and if you compare the two wines, they are different. I believe we may have the winemaker on. Antonia, are you there? Can you at least wave hello to us? Or say hi, or if you want to hide and be shy, that's okay, we understand.
We love the wine, no reason to hide.
Yeah, we love the wine, yeah. So maybe she can hear us, I don't know. But Antonia Tsar is one of the winemakers at St. Hills, and she can definitely talk about the differences between the different vineyards, even though they end up actually, we have here in United States 2015 both Saint Rocco from Komarna and Dingač wine, and they do taste different, even though it's basically same exact plant and same exact way they make it. So it's literally just a difference in a terroir. There were a few other winemakers that I think might have popped on, but apparently they're shy. So what I'm going to do is thank all of them right now, from Cervik Winery in Konavle Field with Tezero, with Rizman from Komarna and their poship, which is absolutely delicious, to Terra Madre with the Plavac Mali rosé that we tasted, and then St. Hills Dingač as well as Volarević Plavac Mali. And speaking of the robust Plavac Malis, one of the pairings that Win and I actually really like with the 2013, particularly with the 2013 Volarević Gold Certis, is dark chocolate. I actually would I would rather have it with dark chocolate than with some kind of a big steak or something, because you really kind of can feel that intenseness, and they pair very well. And by the way, the darker it is, the better, you know, like 80%, you know.
So we actually do this after dinner, dark chocolate in front of the fireplace. That's a very good pairing.
Okay, now I have to drop the mic, okay? So anyway, this has been quite a great experience in terms of hearing you guys, what you have to say. And Ksenia and Sinisha, thank you guys for joining us, particularly thanking everybody in the city of Dubrovnik for making sure that we can see you in such a great setting. Otherwise, we would be, you would be probably only with the background like I am. I want to remind everybody that if you have not yet subscribed to our mailing list, if you're watching this, excuse me, afterwards, after we're live, and you want to subscribe to our mailing list, we will be tomorrow morning picking up 4 different winners. One would be a $100 gift certificate from Croatian Premium Wine, where you get to choose what you'd like to pick to send to yourself. And 3 would be, thank you to Koravin and Greg, Koravin Pivots, their new system that, I don't know if it's going to show up really well, but maybe Greg can show it, yeah. New tool that it's a $99 value that is actually a heck of a lot more valuable than that. I should say that's the price. Because the fact that you can end up using it together with the stoppers with numerous bottles of wine is huge. I mean, we know plenty of people where there are people in the household who one likes red better than the white, or different kinds of whites or whatever. And this way everybody can be happy in the household, particularly while we're still at home. And one thing to mention is also that this is actually something that we have seen the restaurants that we are selling Croatian wines to in Massachusetts, that they love this because it's a really fast tool. And obviously as they start opening up, and they have been in Massachusetts, which we're grateful for, opening terraces out on the either their back porches or even on the streets in Boston, which has been a lovely thing, almost looks like Europe. And I hope they actually don't go back. It will be great for them as a tool as well, because they can actually serve it fairly fast. But anyway, I will be asking for the last minute comments from anyone of the speakers, and then would like to open up the questions. If anybody would like to ask a question, please unmute yourself, and please make sure that you're going one at a time. We have been talking and drinking for quite a lot, so we may not get any questions. There were quite a few questions in the chat room, which was actually great.
It's amazing to see how far and wide people came to this tasting from Guatemala, fantastic, and all over Europe and the United States. Shows that wine brings people together.
And for those people in Croatia who think that all we do is talk about wine from Dubrovnik, that's not exactly true. We actually have quite a lot of other wines, and we are looking forward to seeing you in the future on our additional webinars that we will be doing from wines from other areas. So please do sign up for our to our mailing list, and we hope you are one of the winners. We do want to mention that again, that Croatia is open for both business, investments, and tourism. Right now, the flights are opening more so than what they have been before. There are numerous airlines that are adding flights as we speak. There is, unfortunately, from United States, usually needs to be a hub that you need to go to first, and it can go from you can go from anywhere to one of the Scandinavian countries to London, through Paris or Frankfurt, Munich, Switzerland. Zurich usually has good connections, and Madrid as well. So check on the airlines. Turkish Airlines also flies through Istanbul, so it's a little bit longer trip, but to be honest, I love it because they leave late from Boston, and I sleep all the time until I get there in the morning.
So may I interject for a moment?
Yeah, sure.
So I've been following on Facebook the questions that are coming there as well. And David Michaels asked, are the tourists arriving yet in Dubrovnik?
So the question is, are the tourists arriving yet to Dubrovnik? So maybe Ksenia, you can mention that. I mean, I do know that it's possible to go to Dubrovnik, and whether there are probably not that many right now that are coming. The restaurants have just opened up again. So, but the flights and the airports, everything is open. Is that correct?
Yes, the airport is open, and the tourists started arriving around Easter time. And this is where the time when we also opened the terraces of the restaurants, and basically now we have direct flights from Madrid and Munich, and I think things are opening up each week, slowly but surely, and we always have 3 times a day connections through Zagreb. So it's actually possible, and it's not that complicated to arrive.
Yeah, and for people who are interested in seeing a number of different regions in Croatia, actually landing into Zagreb first is not a bad idea. Rent a car and then drive through all of these areas. It's a absolutely beautiful experience. With that, I think what I'd like to do is thank Ksenia Matic and Siniša Lasan of Event Lab. Both of them are sommeliers. Both of them know quite a lot about wine tourism in Croatia. They've been working with a lot of different institutes and hotels. Actually, Siniša is currently working with Rixos Libertas, which is one of my favorite hotels actually in Dubrovnik. My prom was there, believe it or not, many moons ago. And and also thanking the mayor of Dubrovnik, Mato Frankovic, as well as the whole city of Dubrovnik and the Dubrovnik Tourist Board, Ana Hrnić, and the whole team. I also wanted to thank Greg Lambrecht from Coravin, who has been an absolute phenomenal ambassador to Croatian wines in the United States, and we love working with him and his team on telling all the wine lovers who love using their tools about Croatian wines, which are absolutely perfect for preserving. So for anybody that is interested in traveling to Croatia, now is the best time. Get your tickets early. They're going to get more expensive. The flights are actually starting to even be increased even more so. I expect that this summer, with everybody in the United States being vaccinated, there will be a lot more people traveling there. So do it fast, book your travel through the travel agents. If you have questions about wine or wine tourism, please send us an email to info@croatianpremiumwine.com. And I would like to end this by sharing another video about Dubrovnik that you can just watch a few additional beautiful spots from the Pearl of Adriatic, as they call it. So with that, thank you very much for joining us. And we hope that you can join us in the future as well. And živjeli.
Živjeli. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, guys in Dubrovnik. Mirena.
Thank you. Ooh. Nothing. No, Miss.